Well, this is my room, Scootaloo said. Again her friends found themselves in a perfectly normal setting. Scootaloo's twin bed was sloppily made, the lumpy comforter no doubt concealing sheets and blankets, and hadn't been straightened right. A small writing desk stood under the window, with schoolbooks and papers scattered across its surface. The walls held family pictures, a Wonderbolts poster, and a calendar. "You guys want to play a game?" Scootaloo asked, rummaging through her closet. When she didn't hear a response, she turned around, surprised by the expressions on her friends. "Is something wrong?" No, everything looks normal," Sweetie Belle said. "Yeah, everything looks normal," Scootaloo muttered. "So you want to play a game? I have Battle Clouds, and Pegasus Chase, and Bountiful Fields, and—" "Bountiful Fields?" Apple Bloom said enthusiastically. "Wait, ain't that more of an Earth Pony game?" Scootaloo dragged out the game's box and carried it to her bed. "Of course. Didn't you notice?" Scootaloo said, pointing to one portrait. In it, a smiling Scootaloo, maybe 5 years old at the time, stood on the back of a yellow Earth Pony stallion. "You never mentioned you were from a mixed family," Sweetie Belle said. "I thought that was obvious, since I live here on the ground," Scootaloo replied. "Dad's an Earth Pony, and so is—" The door to Scootaloo's room creaked as a small form rushed in. The purple blur jumped onto the bed and onto Scootaloo. Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle jumped, but relaxed when they saw what had happened. The purple form turned out to be an Earth Pony colt, maybe 6 years old, with a coat several shades darker than twilight sparkles. His blue mane was shaggy, nearly hanging over his eyes, and the little colt was hugging Scootaloo. "You're the best big sister ever," he said. And then he let go, hopping off the bed and running out of the room. "Aww," the two visitors cooed. Scootaloo, however, looked frantic. "Diary," she whispered, lifting the corner of her mattress. She let out a sigh of relief when she found the thin book still hidden there. She then flapped her wings and patted her flanks with her hooves. "Did he put a kick me sign on my flank?" Scootaloo asked anxiously. Apple Bloom shook her head. "Nope." Scootaloo breathed out slowly, then inhaled sharply. "My mane!" She rubbed her hooves through her mane. "Is there a spider? A caterpillar?" "Calm down, Scootaloo," Sweetie Belle urged. "Yeah, we can't rightly see if there's any critter in your mane if you keep rubbing it like that," Apple Bloom said. Scootaloo rested her hooves on the bed, lowering her head so that her friends could get a better look. "Nope, everything looks fine, Scootaloo," Sweetie Belle said. "You mind telling us what just happened?" Apple Bloom asked. "You just met my little brother, Striker, and he's evil," Scootaloo replied. "Evil?" the other fillies responded incredulously. "Evil," Scootaloo reaffirmed. "He's always trying to steal my diary, or put bugs in my mane, or get me in trouble with Mom." "That sweet little colt," said Sweetie Belle. "Ugh, not you too! Don't fall for it," Scootaloo replied. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom stared at her, unconvinced. "Let's just play," Apple Bloom said. Scootaloo flicked the spinner with her hoof, watching it as it slowed. "All right, 8!" She moved her pawn along the board, counting as she went. Her smile quickly faded as she realized the big number had placed her token in Apple Bloom's field. "That's my carrot patch, with a greenhouse. I'll be taking 30 bits from you," Apple Bloom said smugly. Scootaloo sullenly hooved over the play money, leaving her with a nearly depleted account. "Pleasure doing business with you, Scootaloo." The game was interrupted by Quick Stitch calling from downstairs. "Scootaloo, you come down here this instant!" Scootaloo groaned and stood up. "I think you girls need to watch this," she said. Scootaloo headed downstairs where her mother was waiting, scowling. Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle stayed upstairs, craning their necks over the railing to watch. "Scootaloo, have you seen my dark blue yarn?" she said. All three fillies recognized that tone of voice. That wasn't a casual question, and her mother definitely wasn't asking for help because she forgot where she left her yarn. "No, Mom, I don't know what happened to your yarn," Scootaloo asserted. "Are you sure?" she asked sweetly, her voice again reflecting a certain expectation. "I told you, Mom, I don't know." "Then you wouldn't mind me looking in your room?" Scootaloo's mother started up the stairs. Scootaloo groaned, rubbing her temples with her hooves before following. "All we've been doing is playing games," she said. Her mother entered her room, the Bountiful Fields game board still sitting on the floor. "See?" Quick Stitch scanned the room, first looking into the closet, then in the drawers of the desk. She noticed something, and headed over to Scootaloo's bed. Reaching between the bed and the wall, she pulled out a ball of dark blue yarn. She held out the incriminating item. "So how do you explain this, young filly?" "I don't know how that got there!" Scootaloo exclaimed. Then she growled. Striker! Quick Stitch raised an eyebrow inquisitively. What about your brother? Let me guess. He told you he saw me take that yarn, right? Scootaloo said. Quick Stitch nodded. Well, he rushed into my room earlier today. He must have put that there, Scootaloo said. It's true, Mrs. Quick Stitch, Apple Bloom said. He ran in and ran out very quickly, Sweetie Belle said. Did you see him put the yarn here? Quick Stitch asked. Three fillies shook their heads. Quick Stitch looked ready to speak again, but Scootaloo spoke first. You didn't see either of us take the yarn. And think about it, Mom. When could I have taken it? Remember what I was doing this morning? She said quickly. You were late getting up again, so I had to hurry and get you ready for school, Quick Stitch recalled. Exactly. You were with me the whole time. And this afternoon, since getting home, I caught the twins, had a cookie, and then went straight up here. When could I have taken that yarn? Well, I was distracted getting the twins settled down for their nap, Quick Stitch replied, a little less certain. She stuck her head out the door. Striker, would you come up here? A moment later, the young colt trotted into the room. Yes, Mommy? Quick Stitch presented the ball of yarn. Did you take this, Striker? No, Mommy, he replied. Quick Stitch studied her children. Scootaloo stood defiantly. Striker watched his mother through big watery eyes, his lower lip quivering just slightly. Quick Stitch sighed. Now, children, I want you to understand that Mommy is very busy and has a big order of scarves to knit. So when Mommy asks for quiet, or when Mommy asks you to go to bed, or when Mommy asks you not to touch her yarn, please do what Mommy says. Yes, Mommy, Striker said, hugging her foreleg. Yes, Mom, Scootaloo said, feeling a little perturbed. Now, Scootaloo, do you think you and your friends can play outside until dinner? Her mother asked, her tone suggesting there was only one correct answer. Fine, Scootaloo said. You too, Striker, Quick Stitch said. The colt smiled and nodded enthusiastically. As Quick Stitch and Striker left, Scootaloo turned to her friends. Their jaws were hanging down in shock. No way, Apple Bloom whispered. He's better at giving puppy dog eyes than we are, Sweetie Belle agreed. You're doomed, Scootaloo, Apple Bloom said. I like your backyard, Apple Bloom said. The three fillies looked over the small patio, the well-tended lawn, and the woods beyond. Yeah, it's pretty nice, Scootaloo agreed. There's lots of room to run around. That hill is fun for sledding in winter, and the woods behind the house have lots of places to explore. That sounds like fun, Sweetie Belle said. Sure beats having to have a free forest in your backyard, Apple Bloom commented. It's a lot like the Whitetail Wood, just smaller, Scootaloo said. Let's go. The three fillies followed a narrow trail through trees and wild grasses. They took care to avoid several plants with burrs. Getting burrs out of their manes and coats was second only to tree sap in the terms of unhappy consequences of crusading. Soon they reached a small creek, the water pleasantly burbling underhoof. There are lots of pretty rocks here, Apple Bloom said. Maybe we could be Cutie Mark Crusader geologists, Sweetie Belle suggested. Huh? Oh, sure, Scootaloo said. I tried that when I was younger. I still have a box of rocks somewhere in my room. I didn't get a Cutie Mark, but yeah, go for it. Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle splashed around in the creek, collecting pretty rocks. It took them about 5 minutes to realize that 1, they had no training to study said rocks, and 2, even if they wanted to later, they had nothing to carry them in. They abandoned the creek. Wet hooves and no cutie marks, Apple Bloom said, shaking the water from her fetlocks. Scootaloo looked around the area. There's a fun area to go climbing over there, she said. The three ponies walked along the far side of the creek. The trees grew thicker, the ground covered in leaves and moss. Finally, they reached an area with a cluster of tall trees. A fallen tree crossed the creek here. I found this place a long time ago when I was exploring these woods. It's like a little fortress. I called it Fort Creek. Yeah, I know, real creative, Scootaloo said. There's like a dozen trees that are good for climbing, and that fallen tree is good if you want to practice balancing. She looked to Apple Bloom, who was just starting across the log. Just be careful, it's... The sound of hooves scraping against bark, and then the sound of Pony Barrel smacking into a log interrupted Scootaloo's explanation. Slippery, Scootaloo finished, before heading over to help out Apple Bloom. The Earth Pony filly was more embarrassed than hurt, flat on the log with her legs splayed over both sides. I'm okay, Apple Bloom affirmed. The fillies began climbing in earnest, helping each other climb into the higher boughs. So, Sweetie Belle asked Scootaloo, is your mom always like that? Huh? Scootaloo turned back to face Sweetie Belle. Like what? You know, weary, flustered, preoccupied. What are you, a dictionary? Scootaloo responded. But yeah, she has her hopes full. She really has trouble keeping up with all of us foals and her knitting, especially when Dad is busy. Why's your dad busy? Apple Bloom asked. Dad's an accountant for Ponyville, Philadelphia, and Western Railroad. Every 3 months he gets really busy, and he usually doesn't get home until after dinner. Quarterly tax filings, he calls it. Scootaloo groaned, her familiar bored expression crossing her face. That's too bad, Apple Bloom said. I kind of wish my mom was the element of honesty. Then maybe Striker wouldn't get away with so much. Scootaloo rose on her hind legs, balancing against a tree's trunk, and looked around. Is something wrong? Sweetie Belle asked. What? No, Scootaloo replied. But you keep looking around nervously, Sweetie Belle said. Yeah, you keep looking like a Timberwolf is gonna jump us, Apple Bloom added. I'm not worried about Timberwolves, Scootaloo said. I'm worried about something worse. Is this about your family? How mad could it be? We survived your mom and 3 brothers, Sweetie Belle observed. Sweetie Belle, I have 4 brothers. Well, where's your other brother? Apple Bloom asked. I don't know, and that's why I'm worried. The silence was broken by Apple Bloom saying, You can't leave us hanging like that. Yeah, what's so bad? Sweetie Belle asked. Nash is 9 years old. He's a lot nicer than Striker, but he's kind of, well, obsessed with the Hydra Hunter. That's not so bad, Sweetie Belle said. The book series about the real-life adventures of a fearless or foolhardy adventurer whose approach to the Hydras and other monsters of the uncharted swamplands of Equestria was pretty much the opposite of Fluttershy's, was quite popular with colts of that age. No, I mean really obsessed, like playing Hydra Hunter every day obsessed, Scootaloo said. It's a mite weird, but what's so bad about that? Apple Bloom asked. Who do you think plays the role of the Hydra?